Hello. I guess my name is Luise Heinzel, although I'm not 100% sure about that. And I think I have to do something with some of the stuff from this box today. And I guess my task is to make a video for you. Hello. What has happened and why is this like it is? What have you done? Holy crap. I'm sitting here and to be honest, I don't have an idea about who I am, what I have to do, and what's going on here. I had to look into my calendar on my computer to know what I want to do today, and I thought, let's better do exactly what I have written down there last week, because last week, the last Sunday, hasn't happened yet. So that means last week I obviously had all of my, cells in my brain together and I have written something down and that's what I want to do today. If you are new here, last Sunday it was my birthday, and if you're following me for a longer time, then you know what happened on Sunday, and you have just blown me away with everything you have done on that day and also on the whole weekend and the days after Sunday. I'm so overwhelmed by all of the love you have spread out, and you have made my birthday into one of the most special days in my life, and I will never forget that day. So thank you so much for that from the bottom of my heart. And if you follow me for a longer time, you know that I usually don't use hearts in my projects because I don't like the shape of hearts. But I think I have to do this here now. And I'm doing this for the first time here on my channel. And I know why I normally don't do that, because with sausage fingers, this heart looks a little bit weird. When other people do that, it looks really aesthetic, but this really comes from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for making my birthday into such a special day. What are we going to do today? I have a little basket here with a lot of stuff which I have, collected during the past months. This is stuff that is nearly finished, some ephemera, which has to go in some future journals. But here are also some unfinished journals in this box. You can see the cover here is finished, but the signatures are still loose. I haven't had the time to bind them into the cover here. And I want to take something from this box today, and that is this journal cover here, which is obviously not finished yet, and also the pages are not sewn in yet. I want to use this and finish this up as another little point from my junk journal bucket list. So perhaps you have also something like this, like a basket or a box or a drawer or something like that, or a corner in your room and the floor has, some piles of things where you think, okay, I have to finish that, but I couldn't find the time yet. Then perhaps this video and perhaps also my other February videos can help you finding ideas how to manage those situations, because I think every one of us knows this. You have something and okay, I have to put it away. I want to put it into a journal, but then you have other things to do. You have perhaps some deadlines, or you are not in the mood to clean your room and to organize the things. And then something like this can happen relatively easily. And I made a little junk journal bucket list for myself with all of those things that I want to finish up and that I want to organize or recreate in a different way, or also experiment. Barbara, you learned me that, you have not learned, you taught me that it's not experiments, but experiments. Holy moly. Perhaps some experiments that you always wanted to try, but you couldn't find the time. All of that is on my junk journal bucket list, which I have in my head. So some of you have asked if there's like a real list which you could, for example, print out or something. Such a list is not existing to print or to read or something. It's just in my head. But perhaps you have those things in your head as well. But of course, there's no problem with writing those things down. You could also do that. But the main point of this is that we can get rid of this chaos. So if you are new here, or if you perhaps have missed the other February videos, there's a whole playlist linked below this video where you can find the bucket list videos I've already published. And of course, I will put all of the other February videos into that playlist as well. And perhaps when you see this, so I'm showing you this here, I made this cover. I finished this in my German video. And where's the other book here? This here I already finished a few months ago, this cover I mean. So if you want to see the process of making this, you can also watch my German video, of course. And I'm showing you this because I think that the most of you now think, well, that's nice what Louisa is doing there. Perhaps you think that, but I don't have the same materials and supplies she's using. That is absolutely no problem, because these videos are also made for you, that you have something that you can listen to or watch while you are on your own craft desk and work on your own junk journal bucket list without the necessity of having the same materials like I have, because I think crafting together is the most beautiful thing in the world. So I thought I want to give you some videos which are also like a little bit longer, so that you have something to watch while you are crafting on your own desk and you have your own projects in front of you. But of course, I'm totally happy if you can soak some inspiration from this, and if you want to recreate what I'm doing in my videos, of course, that's totally fine, and I would be happy about that. So this is what we have here, and this I want to use as like a reference or something. I think that's a good word for that. I made some journals which have like a specific color as a theme. So for example, this journal here has the color shaded lilac as the main theme of the journal. Everything is like in this color, and or like not exactly shaded lilac, but also colors that match. Yeah, so like a purple journal. Let's say it like that, and it's perhaps a little easier. So that is the main idea behind this like little series. I already made one journal which had Saltwater Taffy as the main color. There's I guess there's a flip through available on my channel. If that is the truth, you will find the link down below in the description box. This journal has Lumberjack Plaid as the main color, and the one I want to finish the cover here, this is Villainous Potion as the main color. And also here in the inside I have a lot of Villainous Potion-ish colors. I also grunged the edges of my signatures here with some Villainous Potion, so that it looks like, you know, purple from here and from here and from here and from all the sides as well. So let me quickly put this out of the way. And the main idea behind this video is that I want to try out something, and that is something where I'm really a little bit angry about myself that I haven't done that earlier. And that is coloring paper dolls. That sounds perhaps a little bit weird, because that's like the most normal thing in the world, that you can take, for example, a Tim Holtz paper doll or another kind of paper doll, and that you color that with some mediums. But in my brain, it was always like this feeling that when I saw other people doing that, coloring paper dolls to me was like too kitschy somehow. And I don't like, and that is like really only my personal emotion behind that, I don't like, for example, when the paper doll women have these like red rouge on their skin. I don't like that. It's like too much for me. It's too kitschy. So this here, this cover, I made a few months ago. So that's also the reason why I haven't colored this paper doll. But in the meantime, I've changed my mind. And I also found out how you can color your paper dolls. In the past, I haven't had any knowledge about that. So that was perhaps also a reason why I haven't done it. And here I already, as you can see, colored the clothes of these people, and I have done that with like a technique that I can handle, a technique that I like, and in this case, this doesn't look kitschy to me, and because of that, probably because of that, I like it. So I want to show you how I made this here, and there have also been a lot of questions about a reel I posted to Instagram recently, how I made the clothes for the people there, and you know, you will get your answers with this, because this I did exactly the same way like in the reel. Okay, so I want to use like 3 main elements on this cover here, and that is this perspective butterfly die cut by Zizix and Tim Holtz. That is what you can see here in the background. A paper doll and a quote here on this background I've already created. This background is the most easiest thing you could imagine. I've just taken an old book cover. I mean, you know, a book. I have cut the pages out, and then I have taken the cover. I've sanded that a little bit with a sandpaper because the material was relatively slippery, and I wanted to spritz some Distress Oxide spray, Villainous Potion, on that. And when the surface is a little bit, you know, porous, then this can dry. The original book cover was so slippery that this would probably never dried. Sorry. Then I have taken a stencil and I have put some texture paste translucent through that stencil. That's also why these dots are way darker than this. Perhaps you know this effect. This is the oxide spray in its like original outcome. And when you put something like translucent texture paste over it, the color gets way more intense there where the stenciling is. And that is a really, really cool effect in my eyes. And this, of course, is going to become the front. So I lay this down here on my table, like, you know, flat, so that I can work on this front side here. And for the perspective butterfly, I want to use the half of this. This is a leftover from one of my recent experiments. Barbara, I said it right. Experiments. And I thought, I mean, this was from the journal I have cooked in a pot on my stove. And I thought, why don't I take this? On the first thing I made here, or yeah, on this one with lumberjack plaid and even on the saltwater TAFFY one, the butterfly was embossed with golden embossing powder, and I really like that. I think, I mean, in my eyes, you could combine every of the Ranger colors with gold. That's never a mistake. If you take gold and one of the Ranger colors, then it always looks great. But here I already used one of the leftovers from the cooked book, and this is also one of those. I have put 2 half butterflies together here, but you can't see it anymore, that it is, you know, like puzzled together. And I think this looks also really interesting when this is a little bit more smooth and not so bam gold. Do you know what I mean? And when I found this here on my desk, it was just laying around here, I thought, why don't I just use this here? And I really, really like this, for me, unusual color combination of this purple, the green, this yellow, and this like brownish tone. So let's have that in mind, and let's then decide for a paper doll which we could put on here. I want to use a Tim Holtz paper doll today, and I will also show you how I color that paper doll, but I also want to show you an alternative, what you could do if you don't have these paper dolls, or if you perhaps don't like them. I mean, then I would say I can't understand that, but could happen that you don't like them. This is very mainstream. I want to have something. I saw these portraits and I thought, but I only have the Halloween ones left. This is not planned to be a Halloween journal. I'm just wondering if we can make this work, because I really like this. Somehow. But that would also mean, I mean, this is not what I want here. This would also mean that we have to put the quote here. Where are my quotes? Here. Like over here, so that this looks not so cut at the end of the portrait there. This could be a possibility. Yeah, and I'm just asking myself, and I have, to be honest, I have never done that before. I've just asking myself if I can take the paper doll and the perspective butterfly die cut and then cut this part here out from the paper doll so that we can see the book cover here through the butterfly, because I don't like this, like her shoulder is oh, excuse me please, is destroying the look of the butterfly somehow, because I wanted to have this that you can see through these little holes to like a totally different color, which in this case is the Villainous Potion color. Shall we try that? But then we should probably also make something. Yeah, let's try it. Why not? Is enjoy the journey the right thing here? I'm not so sure. I think that this is what I want to do. It's not hammered in stone yet, but let's see. I will definitely try to cut out this part here from the paper doll with the help of the die cut, but before I do that, I want to put my color here on the paper doll, because I think it's easier to do the whole paper doll and then later on cut the part of the butterfly out here, because then we have a solid surface here first, and you know, later on when I've cut it out, then it's perhaps a little bit delicate and not so easy to color. If you don't have the Tim Holtz paper dolls, perhaps you have some other, like, people you have cut out from magazines or from books or something, or perhaps you want to use a digital alternative. I have my own paper dolls from my shop here. I have several different items in my shop with different sizes and also different colors, couples and, you know, single, adults and children. And of course you could use something like a digital for the technique I'm showing you in a second as well. And because it's February and we are celebrating my my month of birth with this junk journal bucket list series, I would like to give you a little surprise. You can get 43% off. There are actually 3 items in my shop with different kinds of, paper dolls. I will link them all down below for you. And if you want to get the discount, you please have to use this code here. You can just put that into this little box at the end of your order, and then you can get 43% off. Why 43%? That's easy, because I have turned 43 on Sunday. So I think we are going to use this little girl here as an example. Yeah. And the thing is, I think that is one of the main reasons why I have left my paper dolls in the past like they were, and why I haven't colored them. I always was struggling with the surface of my paper dolls, because I thought, how can that happen, that a medium can stay on a surface like this copy paper here, for example. So this is just a little thicker, a little, high quality copy paper, so that the print gets good, but it's just copy paper, and it's, and this from Ideology, the paper dolls from Ideology have this like shiny surface. And I always thought, which mediums do I have to use so that they can be on here without any problems? And then I have watched several different tutorials on YouTube, how other people do that. And I found out a way that I can handle and where I'm satisfied with the result. Because the problem is, if you on such a copy paper would, for example, use, let's say, acrylic paint, because you think, okay, that is a good medium, I have acrylic paint, I can use that. Then if you would use it without mixing it with water, you would cover up the details of your paper doll, of course. The same for this, like for this one, of course, because, acrylic paint is opaque, and then you would have a problem. If you would mix acrylic paint with water and use it on copy paper, then it could happen that the medium soaks into the paper and you get these really ugly, like, you can't blend that so well, and it soaks into the paper very fast, and then it's there and it looks not so nice. Here, acrylic paint mixed with water would move around relatively much on this slippery surface. So that is not a good idea. If you would use like a pencil, a colored pencil, it would be no problem here. Absolutely no problem. But on this surface here, how to do that? You would scratch into this material, and your colored pencil would also not give you like, a real color, because you would have these scratches and the medium would not stay on here so well. So what I like to do after watching several different videos is I like to take some clear gesso. For my paper dolls, I mainly use the Dina Wakley Media Clear Gesso, also Ranger. And this, for me, is the best thing for this technique, but of course, that's personal preference. You could also alternatively use this Liquitex Clear Gesso with, what is going on with my camera here? Why? Ah, I'm sorry. It's called Clear Gesso by Liquitex, and it's the one with the blue label. Both of these are a little bit like, I think the word is grainy, so they have like a relatively rough texture in the end when everything is dry, and that makes that your medium, whatever you use, can hold better on the surface. And especially with pencils, colored pencils, you can color these paper dolls way easier, and the good thing is you can use water to blend the colors. So for today I want to use this here. I'm just going to put a little bit here to my mat, and then I'm just taking my finger. You could of course use a sponge, for example something like this, to apply the gesso if you don't like to have that on your finger, but for me this is the easiest and fastest way. Sometimes I also use 2 fingers because then, you know, the surface is bigger. I just dab this on, and now you could think, okay, when she is doing it like this, then she probably has a lot of fingerprints on the surface later, but you can avoid that. I mean, you would be right if you would do this not long enough, this dabbing, but if you do it until the gesso is nearly completely dry, you will get a really, really nice surface without any fingerprints. And that way, I like to do it with my finger, because then I can control how much I have on here, and you know, when I touch it and it sticks to my finger, can you see that it still sticks? Then I know I have to do this just a little bit longer, and I can feel when it's enough and when it's especially not enough. But yeah, I can also feel if it's enough because I can touch it, but I can also feel when it's finished, because I do this just until it doesn't stick anymore to my finger, and then I know, okay, everything is fine. For the copy paper, I like to use a little more gesso, meaning I dab this on and I can feel, okay, here it's already dry. I take a little more, put it here like, you know, as a second layer, if you will, because this, of course, now seals the surface, but not totally. Or, yeah, I think not completely, not totally. Do you know what I mean? So if I would use only a really thin layer of this gesso, I would still have some problems with my colored pencils or whatever I want to use. If I want to use a liquid medium on here, I would have some problems because the medium would still soak through this one layer of gesso. So I'm going to do this a little bit more generously. And when I look like in an angle to my paper doll, I can also see it's getting matte, and that's a good sign that everything is perfect here. And then when I do it, you know, it sticks, but it also falls off from my fingers at the same time, so I know this is finished. It's not completely dry yet, but it's enough so that you, I mean, enough dabbing so that you can't see any fingerprints anymore. I do the same thing with the Tim Holtz paper doll now. Here I don't need so much gesso because the surface here is already coated with this glossy thing. I don't know how that is called in English, but it's enough to have, you know, just a little bit of grip from the gesso, so that the surface gets a tiny little bit rough for the next steps. So then let's quickly dry this completely. And for coloring these, I would like to use the watercolor pencils by Ranger. I have the 3 new sets here, which make the palette complete. So these are the sets 4, 5, and 6, so that we now have all of the Ranger colors as watercolor pencils as well. Yay! And of course you could use something similar to this. You could use any other watercolor pencil as well. You could also use, of course, other things, but I like to use pencils which you can blend with water, because that gives the most amazing effects. And for the technique I want to show you today, I mean, how I like to do it, it's good to have something like, you know, a colored pencil which you can then blend with water. So let's first do this one here from my digital. Which color shall we use? I think I want to go with red today. What about Festive Berries? I haven't tried that color out yet, so let's just do it. So everything I do is I decide which part of this shall be red, and I think I want to have the dress itself red, but this little blouse, is that the same word? Bluse in German. I think it's blouse, isn't it? I want to have that white, so I just take my watercolor pencil and go over here, and I don't care about details or, like, you know, lighter or darker areas. I just follow the shape of the dress here on this image. And please don't be scared when you see that the details are covered by the pencil now, because, you know, here, especially here where these little darker areas in the dress are, it looks a little bit weird when you just scribble over this, but in a second we're going to use some water, and then we can make the details visible again, because with the watercolor pencil gets translucent in some areas, and then you get automatically the right amount of shadows and all that stuff and lighter areas because of the photo below. And that's of course the same with the Tim Holtz paper dolls as well, and it's with every photo. Yeah, that doesn't have to be a human being. You could also do this technique on, for example, a house, a photo of a house or something like that, or a birthday cake. So then I'm going to take a water brush. Alternatively, you could use just a normal paintbrush and a glass of water next to you so that you can dip the paintbrush in. But I like to use this because it's really easy and it's controllable and, you know, everything. So now when I do this, I think a little bit about the light and the shadow in the picture. When I think about the direction I want to move my pen now, my brush now. Here on the left, you can see it's way darker than on the right. You can immediately see when this photo was taken, the light came from here. Here on the girl's, I think, blouse, let's say arm, and also here on the cup, it's lighter here on the right than on the left, meaning the dress is here and here way darker than here on the right side. So that means I'm taking my brush and I start where the light is, and I'm just going to the left with my brush, and I do that like in slow motion now. In like reality, I would do that way faster, of course, but I want to explain my thoughts. So now I have water here, so then I can take my water brush and just push the pigment from here to there, so that it automatically, oh no, just take this off, that it automatically gets lighter on the right and darker on the left, because we have more pigment on the left in the end, and that makes it more intense there. At the same time it gets a little translucent because of the water. And if I see here's still too much, I want to have it lighter here, I can just clean my brush, and then with the clean brush I go over here and take the pigment off, so that only a tiny little bit is left here. Can you see that? It's of course not totally the color of the photo, but it's like, you know, a light red here now. And that way I have a lot of pigment on the left, and I can control really, really well where I want to have those lighter and darker areas. Here it's a little bit difficult. Do that slowly and carefully, just a really, you know, thin line to activate the pigment here. Here it has to be darker as well. Here it has to be lighter. So we are going to start on the right again. And just go along here. And push a lot of this pigment to the left. The more water you use, the faster this goes, but it gets then a little uncontrollable as well. So I would suggest to just let come out from the water brush what wants to come out. I mean, the amount of water that wants to come out. Does that make sense? Don't press to this container here. Just let it come out. And before you pick up the pigment that is too much here, make sure your brush is clean, and then you can just lighten up these areas here. And can you see this relatively harsh line here? If you don't like that, then just take your brush and go over that and just blend that a little bit. I also like to make that, like, you know, a little artsy, so that it looks like hand colored, and that you get these nice water effects. You know, when water dries, it gives you these little nice imperfections. If you don't like that, then try to blend it like more smoothly than I'm doing it here. But I really like that. So let's dry this, and you will see while you dry this, I try to hold my heat tool from here to the paper doll so that you can see it, how it changes. In the beginning, the color looks really, really intense, and perhaps you think, oh my goodness, this is like a vintage photo and the color is way too intense. But can you see how it changes when you dry it? And that's because it gets matte because of the gesso, which dries matte. And at the same time, the water dries, and then you can see those details from the dress, meaning from the photo, through this now translucent color. And I really like that. It's a little bit wonky. She looks a little bit weird. And I really like to have this, like, is that called color key effect, I guess? So that you have, you know, black and white, and you have one thing which is then one color. I really, really like that. But of course, you could also take more colors and, you know, make the cup in another color, or you could color her legs and the arms and the face and everything, or the hair. But I like it when it's like, you know, this bam, and you look to the dress, and then you look immediately through this character somehow. I really like that. If you have some mistakes, like for example on the cup there, can you see I made a little mistake? You can take your clean brush and just go over here and try to get rid of that. I have to admit, on the printed paper dolls it's a little harder, because yeah, that's because of the paper. You can get a little bit of this mistake off, but I can recommend to avoid such mistakes, because look, it's still a little bit pinkish. I don't care about that, because when I use something like this in my journal, I want the people to see that I have colored that. And when a human being is creative, then something like this happens. And I like those imperfections, but I just wanted to let you know that it's relatively hard to get that off from a printed image. It's a little different with the Tim Holtz paper dolls because the surface is different. You can get rid of mistakes way easier on this material. So let's color this woman as well. But here I want to think about which color I want to use, because this red, the Festive Berries, is not so nice for this, I would say. We could stay in this like Villainous Potion purple direction, or we could also do something which makes her pop out more later from the background. So let's quickly think about what that could be. I think I don't want to have purple, I want to have something different. Let's see. Perhaps like this green. What about bundled sage? I think we should give bundled sage a chance to make this nice. I mean, bundled sage is a color that makes everything nice, but I don't know if it fits so well to the color on the butterfly. But let's see. So what do we want? I think I want to just go over this whole thing here and make everything like in this green. And then later on, when we add the water, those little details and the pattern of her jacket can speak. And I also want to show you something which I really like, and some of you have asked for that, because I have done that in my reel on Instagram as well, and some of you have asked how I did that exactly. So that was like a more, a really loose look of this whole thing. And I show you, of course, how I have done that. I'm just thinking, shall we color her hair as well? Let's decide about that later. Let's first see how this comes out. So I take my brush, make sure that it is wirklich, really dry. Wirklich, that is German. And now I want to have details, but a loose look at the same time. Meaning, I'm going to start here at this line. You could start everywhere, yeah, but, you know, choose a point to start. And I have the tip of my brush touching this line, meaning I go here like so in a second, along here, and not like this. Because when I press if I would press my brush down like this, I would smear the pigment to her neck. And that's not what I want. I want to have a clear line along the jacket here. And at the same time, I want to bring out some of the details. That's the reason why I have more water and more pressure here to push the pigment to here, into this direction. Let me just zoom in a little bit so that you can see that better. And since the butterfly later on is going to cover this area here, I want to pay attention to her left shoulder here. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to push the pigment to the middle so that it seems like, I think outline is definitely the wrong word, but something like we made here with these lighter areas on the dress. So I want that you can see that it is lighter here, and with that Of course, the pattern of the jacket also comes out better. And this area, her shoulder, will later on touch the purple cover. And I think it looks good if you have this like neutral color here. I mean the purple, the neutral color, and then the green. And I also left a tiny, tiny little line here from the green. Can you see that? And I tried to leave that there because I think that looks interesting, and that gives also more dimension to the shoulder somehow. Here you can you see this little line here from this part of the jacket? So I go along that line as well, just to bring out, oh, that is a lot of water, to bring out the pattern here really well. But I always try to leave a tiny little bit, yeah, like an outline around the detail. Does that make sense? Let's make it a little darker here as well, meaning take more of the color off so that we get the original, nearly original color of the photo. It's still a little stained. In the camera it perhaps looks like everything has gone here, but it's still a little bit green. You will see that when you try that out with your own paper dolls. It's always a little hard to catch that on camera. And here in this area I want to have this more loose, like watercolor look, which I also had on my project you've seen on Instagram in the reel. So I'm going to try to make some little puddles and, yeah, like clouds of color. I press a little bit to my water brush here so that I can get really a lot of water to this. And then let's push that a little bit more to the middle here, because I'm still, well, the whole time I'm thinking here we will see not so much because the butterfly later on is here, but on the left we can play around a little bit with this cloudy look. Perhaps like this. And I'm going to take my heat tool and I will dry this. And here it's the same like on the other paper doll. The colors get really muted, like, you know, automatically vintage again somehow, so that it matches the photo. But at the same time you can still see the color, and that is really, really cool. I think this is really amazing. So then it looks like this. At the moment, relatively unspectacular, I know. Let's see. Just have to place this here to see how this looks. I have a little problem with the green. This is way more yellowish. We have some like really matchy green here, but this is, we need something else. I think we need a little more yellowish green. So why don't we take shabby shutters? And now, since this is dry, you can of course go again over this and bring some more colors in here. And I like to do this, you know, don't go over the whole surface now, but just in some places, because I want to use water again in a second, of course. And I don't want to destroy what I already have made and dried. I really like this effect, so I don't want to go too much over that, but at the same time, in some areas, in some spots here, I want to mix bundled sage and shabby shutters so that I get, you know, in the end, different variations of of that, and I think it comes relatively close to our butterfly if we mix that a little bit. Perhaps like this. So let's quickly dry that again. That are the things that make me just happy. It fits so well. Oh my goodness. Oh, that is totally great. Okay. Okay. So then let me show you the next step for this like more loose effect, which I also had on the project for my reel, but I just have to think about with which color I want to do that. Let's take like a brown or something like, I want to have something relatively neutral. I'm thinking about a dried marigold, but that in my eyes it has to be a color which fits to this area of the butterfly here. Dried marigold I think would be good, but that is at the same time not brown enough. So let's see, what else do we have here? Perhaps we could try gathered twigs. Or even both of those colors. Let's see. Let's perhaps start with dried marigold, because that is lighter, and then we get yeah. Okay, so to splatter on this, you have different possibilities. You could take your watercolor pencil and take a glass of water, and you can just dip the watercolor pencil into the glass. Ooh, look, you can see, oh my goodness, look how that looks. Can you see her? That is spooky. Can you see that? Oh my god. Oh my goodness, she looks really funny depending on the angle of the glass. Holy cow. Yeah, what I was trying to say, you can take that, and if you dip that into your water, you will not lose any pigment. So the pigment will not go into the water. Once you've put it in there and waited a few seconds, the pigment is going to mix with the water, and if you then would go into the water again, of course, you know, the water would get stained a little bit, but this is also already wet. Yeah, if it's already wet and you put it in here, then of course you lose a little bit of the pigment. But if you do that with a dry pencil and you go in here, nothing is going to happen. Yeah, the water doesn't get brown. But now the watercolor pencil is wet, and you can just leave it for a few seconds, and then you can either go over your mat here and just put the pigment to the mat. That is a possibility. I would do that if I won't need so much of this medium, because you can see it takes a while until you get some of this off to the mat. It's possible, yes, and it's, of course, you do what you want, but I like to dip the pencil in the water, and then I take a wet paintbrush and I go sorry, I made a mess here. I just go over the tip here with my brush and load the brush with this medium, just like this. Now I want to quickly dry this, because this here, it looks like wood, but it isn't. It's just paper which is glued around the pencil, and the whole pencil is pigment. Yeah, so you get, if you buy these, and perhaps you are new to this and you don't know these, this looks like this was wood, like on a normal pencil, but it isn't. It's just glued, and if you sharpen these, then you just get these little worms of paper, but this whole thing is medium, yeah? So I think that is really great because it's really a lot. So then when I have that, this is relatively dry, I take my water and because I can see, my paintbrush is loaded with the pigment now, but it is relatively dry. I know that from, experience. I carefully dip it in there so that I don't lose the pigment but get more water to my paintbrush. And then, fingers crossed, that's not enough water. I want to have like really, a lot of translucent big splatters. And for that, I'm freaking out in a second. Sometimes that works really well, and when the camera is not recording, then it works really well. Because I want to mute the green a little bit with this technique. Yeah, you get what you get. Can you see this? Here on the other cover I made, can you see these bigger splatters? That's what I was looking for. And that here, it makes the green way more subtle somehow, even if it's still somehow green. Yeah, if you go over that with a neutral color, then you can get this more like vintage and muted effect to such a bam color like this. This is also Shabby Shutters. So let's see what we have when this is dry, because that of course now changes a lot. If you dry this now, then we have the same effect that with drying, this glossy illusion of the drops here disappears, and we get a more subtle result. And that's, oh my goodness, and that's even good. Oh my goodness, look at this yellow here, what we got here. That is now a really nice coincidence, because we have a little yellow here on the butterfly. Oh, I'm sorry, on the butterfly as well. Look, that's not so bad, even if it's not what I was looking for, but let's see. Shall we take the gathered twigs as well, or shall we just leave it like it is? Okay, let me try something. Because, of course, with doing this, you get a really loose effect here. But at the same time, you lose a lot of what you have done before. Yeah, so it's like a snowstorm around her, colored snow somehow. If you don't like that and want to have more details on here, then of course you could go in with your water brush again. And for example, here, lift some of those splatters up again so that you get the details of your photo back, and the rest is splattered. And I think that looks really interesting because, yeah, at first glance you could think, how was that done? Especially when you have those like cut off splatters like this one. I really like that it is like cut off somehow, and it looks like it's under this part of the jacket. So I'm trying to get some of the details back with this method, just by removing some of this stuff. This here as well. And I think I don't want to add gather twigs. I think this is nice, but I'm thinking, do I want to give her some rouge or not? I always thought that it's kitschy and I don't want to do that, and I don't like that. Everyone is doing it. I don't want to do it. But now when I think about it, I think I want to try it. But which color do we have to use for that so that it looks nice with that purple there? Okay, so I think I will go with Abandoned Coral. Oh my goodness. Lisa, keep calm. Just do it. I mean, I don't put this kind of stuff onto my own face, so I'm not so sure where this has to go, to be honest. This is way higher than this. Oh no. Well, let's see. Let's take some water. How to do that so that it doesn't get this straight, not straight, rough outline. I don't want to have this outlined. Oh no, now it's gone. It's still a little bit visible. How to do that? If you have a good tip, like for example a video link where someone is showing how to do this, then please leave a comment with the link. I think I want to try to use a dry brush to smear that around. The surface is still a tiny little bit wet there, so I'm trying to get the tiniest amount of water to my dry brush, and that's already too much. Oh no. I think I have to talk to Paula how to do this. I'm talking about Paula Genie. It's not so easy. But you can also see practice and not giving up is the best thing you could do. I think it's really good to have like the tiniest amount of water on your brush so that you then can really rub over that. Can you see this looks really like on on a real photo. And I also realized that it's not so extremely visible in the camera. In reality, this is way more intense. And I have the feeling it's somehow too much. Let me try to blend this even more. Oh yes, now I'm beginning to like it. I can now, perhaps my paintbrush is even a little bit dirty. I have the feeling that it's not only the color of the watercolor pencil that I'm smearing around here, but also perhaps a little bit of dirt from my paintbrush, because it gets a little brown. Yeah, I like that. That is better. Not really a big difference in the camera, I know, I'm really sorry. But what I want to try, and that you can see that probably better than the makeup here, I want to give her a little eye, this thing which you put here, Oh, that looks good. Perhaps like that. So let's just bring the highlights here back, so that the light, that it looks like the light is hitting her eye there. Not the eye, but this area above the eye. And I really wish for a similar effect like here on the eyes. I think on the left eye that worked relatively well. Can you see? It's like really watercolory, especially here over the eyebrow. It's not totally dry yet. I want to have this like crater look of the watercolor pencil, and I think that looks really interesting. But why is that so extremely visible on the left eye and here not? Can we manage to get such an effect here and perhaps let that go over her hair a little bit? So I'm trying to scribble around there. It looks a little bit weird, but Okay, I will remove. I can only see that in the camera, but here is a little bit on the eye, just too much. Okay, and then we could perhaps also try to make this a little bit more extreme. That is, I'm realizing that this is like a real process, and this is something that is typical for me somehow, because first I thought I don't like this like makeup thing on paper dolls, and now I want to have it really extreme, and that is something that is so typical for my brain. First it tells me don't do it, you don't like it, blah blah blah, and then 2 seconds later I want to have the most extreme effect you could ever imagine. That's a bit weird. Oh no, why is this here and not on my paper doll? Not so bad. Let's take some of the bundled sage as well to get that color there as well, so that we get a connection to the color we have over the eyes. This paper doll totally reminds me to an artist. I saw the first artwork from him in Rome. His name is Finn Duck. He's a, I don't know if I pronounce that right, but he's a street artist, and I also have a video which is so old where I made a little page in one of my first journals. It was, yeah, more like, it's not really a journal, it's more like a mixed media notebook art journal thing. Does that make sense? Probably not. I will link the video down below for you, and if you watch the video then you probably understand what I'm talking about here, because this street artist, he has painted a woman onto a wall, and the woman looks similar somehow to this woman, and she wears a mask, and from that mask there are dropping some paint drops to her face. I'm just thinking if I can somehow imitate something like that here, because I've chosen this quote, "Dream big," for this journal, and I just thought if we should make her something like a happy tear, but in a color, so that it, like, you know, drops here to her face. But if I use green now, it will probably mix with the color here, with this abandoned coral color. So that means it's not a good idea to use green. But what about Villainous Potion? Because we have Villainous Potion on the cover here. So why don't we take the Villainous Potion watercolor pencil. I'm sorry. Just have to take it out from my shelf because it's not from one of the new sets. It's existing, you know, already existing for a longer time. Let's try that. That looks absolutely weird. Now I need my paintbrush. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, oh no. Okay, so that turns out really weird. Nope. I can already see that I am not able to make this work. Definitely not. I can see that I will ruin this, so let's try to save it. How do we do that? We try to get rid of that there and just try to turn that into something like this, so that it looks like we have splattered the paint there. Sorry, it's not paint. You know what I mean. To make this look like we had done it on purpose and not like an accident, I think we need more somehow of this effect. So I want to try something. I make like a circle here, relatively crooked oder so. So ähnlich ist dieses Wort. Then I dry that. so that I already have this like extreme outline. And then I take my water brush and just push the ink, I always say ink, holy moly, the pigment to the outside of this little crater, to this outline. Then it gets even more extreme, but I want it really light so that we can see this rouge color underneath, meaning in the center of this. I want to have a little bit of this here. And yes, Barbara, I can hear you screaming. You need a third purple thing. I heard you. I'm talking about Barbara at 49 Dragonflies, of course. I just want to place this here so that I can see where that has to go. It needs to be here. Do you agree, Barbara? Hopefully. That is cool. Haha. I like that. I really like that, and I want to be honest. I mean, I'm always honest, but this is a special situation of being honest, because I haven't expected that I would like that so much. Ha. Oh. Okay, so then let's zoom out a little bit so that you can see the whole cover, because now I want to think about something to make this stenciled pattern a little bit more interesting. And when I look from a little far away, or when I look to my iPad, which is right there and which, you know, mirrors my screen of my phone, which I used to record this, then I can see that this yellowish color here is relatively massive. I'm just thinking, shall we take some yellow acrylic paint and let that run over the cover so that it gets in between of this stenciled pattern, I mean into these little gaps. Fossilized amber perhaps could work. But where do we need this now? Perhaps here and here, so that we then have this diagonal connection. Yeah, and I think I don't want to have the paint behind the butterfly, then it's confusing for the eye, I think. So let's put this out of the way. Let's take fossilized amber distress paint, a tiny bit of water here. I've taken relatively much of the paint now because I want to have that not so translucent in the end. Let's mix that with a little bit of water. Let's take this off. And let's take another brush, which is not so white, and then I want to let this run here a little bit, like so. But then stop it, take my water, and do it like this. That way the oxide spray gets reactivated. And we get, like, you know, a dirty yellow, which I really like. My stomach hurts a little bit because, okay, do you know what? We dry this because then the acrylic paint is, like, you know, sitting on the oxide spray, and then it should be possible to add a second layer on this, like, orangey rusty color here, and then the oxide spray, I think, can't bleed through anymore, because, you know, then we will have acrylic paint on acrylic paint. That should work. Not really. It's somehow interesting, but it's not the right color. Okay, let me try something. Let me try to splatter here, hoping that this stays in this color on the texture paste here. That should work, because that is, like, you know, like plastic, like like a resist. That seems to work, but I'm realizing that this yellow is probably not the best choice. It fits really well to the greens, I would say, but not so well to this here. But I'm just realizing that I'm somehow a little bit stupid, because why don't I take the butterfly, and instead of trying to get this here, I mean, instead of trying to reach this color, why don't I just take my paint here and dip the butterfly in here? Then this should get a similar color to that. If you already have screamed, and if you were wondering why I haven't heard you, now I got it. The fossilized amber paint has mixed with the oxide spray there. That means we need some of this like orangey color on the bottom as well, otherwise this can't work. I still think that this turned out too yellowish, but I'm just thinking, what happens if I now take fossilized amber crayon, and scribble around the stenciled pattern here, and then just smear that. The texture paste should then react like a resist, so that we can have this yellow only around these circles, and then we can take a wet paper towel and remove it from the stenciled area. Not sure if that was the right color. Let's try this one, mustard seed. That's very orangey. Oh, no, that works. It looks only orange. Yeah, that's more like this, I would say. When I look at this, I can see that definitely something is missing here. I don't know what it is yet, but if you are new to junk journaling, or if you are new to making covers, then please don't make the mistake that you look at this whole thing to decide what's missing, because have in mind, please, that later when the pages are in your journal, the whole thing is like this. And can you see how it suddenly changes somehow from this, where it's, you know, like purple, this orange, yellow. Do you know what I mean? It's really much. The woman is relatively small. The butterfly also relatively small. If you look at this whole surface, the spine is really massive. Also, the color of the spine is relatively massive in this moment. But if you hold it like this, like you would see it later when the signatures are in, the whole thing looks totally different. The proportion of the woman and the cover is now completely different in my eyes. And this is your reality. How does that sound? But I think you know what I mean. The reality for deciding what you want to do next. And I like to take, oh, that's too thick, something that I can put in here, so that this whole thing is like, you know, if the pages would be here. And perhaps I should also go to my die cut machine now and finally cut this off here from the paper doll, so that we can see how much of the background we will see through here, because that could also be a big point. So let's see. I want that the butterfly wing here is a little bit over her head. I don't want to have her chin too close to the wing here, but we don't have much space here. So that means has to be like like this. So the first of these holes touches the end of this triangle there, and the head. Okay, I have to take this to my die cut machine as it is and then take the die cut, the die cut itself, and then place it on here so that I can cut this out. I will be back in a second. Can you please explain what I thought? If I put this here, then of course I cut through the woman's face. What the heck have I thought the whole time? Of course, that is impossible. Oh no. What shall I do now? Can I put this into my die cut machine, run it through like this, and will this then perhaps get like embossed because of these things? It will not cut through the head like if I would put it through the machine like this. I will try this. I will try to do this now. Oh my goodness, I'm so afraid. You can't imagine how afraid I am. I'll be right back. If you hear me screaming, then you know what happened. Wish me luck. Oh my goodness. Holy moly. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Tim. Oh my goodness. Oh, he's just the best. Thanks to Tim and thanks to Zizix. This is embossed, but only on the back. Can you see that? Here's this, stuff from the butterfly. And I think it would have been not such a problem if that was on the front of the paper doll. But as you can see, there is like, a little bit somehow, that looks somehow glossy. I think it's from my other plate. It's this like damaged thing. It embossed the damages of my plate to this. But that is just perfect. Oh my goodness, I was so afraid. Do we need this? No, we don't need this. Holy moly. Where's my butterfly now? Where is my other butterfly? Oh, I left it there. Oh, so now I'm hoping that I did everything right so that we can then put this in here. How does this belong here? Like this. Yeah, look. And then you have a totally different feeling because you can see more of the background. I'm sorry, I can't show that because it's going to lift up. Here you can see the background through the butterfly, and that in my eyes makes a relatively big difference. Something else is going wrong here. Not wrong, but I'm not satisfied. Also, this like denim color, we have that only here on the spine. Is that the problem? I mean, we could try, we could try to stamp in black here and here a little bit. Why not? Then we could get a connection to the black writing here. Let's try that. I'm so afraid. But what? Like something like ledger script. Yeah, perhaps we should even take the ledger script set, because that has tiny handwriting that can't be too massive, then it looks weird. Okay, so I think before I'm freaking out here, I'm going to add some black splatters, if I can find my little jar where my black acrylic paint is. Holy moly, where is this? For these black splatters I want to have some craters, so I'm drying them but not completely. And then I press with a paper towel. So that we get these cool effects. This cool effect. Then, can you see? It's way more interesting. But I'm still thinking. I want to have some of the ledger script stamped here as well. I want to try that. This portion here. Let's do it. That is what was missing here the whole time. Crazy. Those little things sometimes really, you know, drive me crazy, because why do we always, or why am I saying we? Why do I always see those, oh my goodness, see those things so late? That solves the whole problem. Look, gives way more detail here, and also here this area was always the whole time was like, oh, I can't speak anymore. The whole time it was like something wants to be there, but what? Yeah, that is way better. Now also this yellow, it pops out somehow, but it matches better because of this like black thing there. I don't know, the eye gets a little that's a little confusion for the eye, but in a positive way. Okay, so then let's take the same portion of the stamp, or approximately the same portion of the stamp again, and perhaps a little bigger. Let's stamp it then upside down here into this purple area. And a little bit here. Okay. I'm quickly drying this so that I then am able to glue the single pieces down here. I don't like this edge. How can I manage to cover that? We could try to take a fluffy piece of something fluffy. So oh, which is longer than this thing. Where's my crocodile? I want to set two fake eyelets. I mean real eyelets, but you will see what I mean in a second. I'm going to take this. Well, just punch through this thing, because you can just poke it through the fabric. It will go there, through there automatically. So I'm going to punch in here. Also in here, so that this white space next to the words here is not so big. Then I'm going to take two eyelets. Yeah, they can't be bigger. Yeah, of course. Of course, I don't have a second in the same color. Let's take these. And then let's try to poke that through the fabric and close that on the back. And that is what I mean with fake eyelets. I mean, the eyelets are real eyelets, but they don't have a function. They don't go through the whole cover. But I will just take this and then I will glue this whole piece down like it is. Why am I doing this? Because on the one hand, the legs of these eyelets are relatively short. The cover is, you know, a normal book cover, and it would work, but the main reason is I don't want to have the legs coming out here, because I don't know yet what's going to happen on the inside here, and I don't want to make myself more problems than necessary. And I know that I will probably later ask myself why those legs are there. if I would put them there. So this will go here, just with, you know, the eyelets as decoration. Okay, so I miss my white splatters. I really miss them, because this is so white, and I like that. I like that this pops out so much. But the problem with white splatters is now that there are only a few areas where those can stay white because of the mediums that we already have here. And that makes me really nervous. But I also was nervous while I was coloring the paper doll. So why don't we do this again? Just be nervous and do it. So I want a connection to this thing. Here we have the original book cover material, meaning the splatters should stay white there because there's no ink or oxide ink or something else underneath which could bleed into these splatters. That is probably a little bit too much. They are too small here. Let's try that again. Okay, that is good. And I don't care if they turn purple here. The main thing is that I want them to be white here, or stay white here. We could try to get some white splatters to this dot here, because this is the translucent texture paste, and there should happen nothing. But I want to, I need, holy crap, because I don't want to splatter to the fabric, because then it looks weird. It should also stay white on her hair here. And let's try if we can put it to the embossing glaze there on the butterfly, just like this, just a tiny bit. Okay, then let's dry this and let's hope for the best. I mean, if they will stain a tiny little bit, that would be okay for me, because you still have this feeling of, yeah, this illusion of white splatters, even if they are a little bit stained. Yeah, that's great. Okay, now I'm finished. This is it. And this is even good. Look, this is Villainous Potion. The rest here in the background as well. And of course, this is now Villainous Potion mixed with white acrylic paint. But look at this thing and this. This has somehow now a connection. And it feels like this little guy and this is part of this and that. Also here, you have the feeling that this is somehow on purpose. We have another one of these stained little splatters here. And also here, and this is also a little bit like that. I really like that. And it really fits to dream big. This is a little crazy, and I think it needs to be crazy to be good. So I hope you liked this, and I hope you could finish something from your own junk journal bucket list today as well. If not, don't cry, don't run away. It's not the end of the world. If you just have watched, then it's, you know, a nice thing as well, and you had probably a great time. Otherwise, you wouldn't hear this now. So, see you the next time, and have a very wonderful day. Bye bye.